go ahead and get started here in just a minute. I'm going to do something a little abnormal compared to all of our other meetings, but Kyle and I were just having a discussion about some things that are happening that happened today in Texas, and I just want to start with a moment of silence for another school shooting in this country. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Board President Kyla Cox-Deckard.
Thank you. I call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Public Works this Tuesday, May 24th of 2022. First up, we have messages from board members. Do we have messages from the board?
I do, and this is a message to everyone in Bloomington. Summer's almost here. The pandemic restrictions have been lifted with some exceptions, and now begins the fun of summer with festivals, markets, outdoor dining, and much, much more. However, there's another level or layer to think about. This is the work of the city. Most students are away for the summer, and construction is in full swing. So you're going to encounter road closures, lane restrictions, detours, to mention just a few things. Safety is a big concern with the city. Your safety, the safety of everyone here. So there'll be signage, barricades, and other alerts. I just want to say, pay attention, be safe, be patient, and enjoy the many activities available this summer.
Thank you, Beth. And I just want to say thanks to Beth for all of her service to the Board of Public Works. Really appreciate having you as a colleague and look forward to continuing to have you as a friend. So appreciate all of your work.
I will second that. I don't know Beth obviously as well, not having been on the board very long, but you've been an incredible colleague, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Can you get your mic a little bit closer and make sure you're unmuted? Perfect.
On now. Sorry.
That'll help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have petitions and remonstrances. First, I'd like to call if anybody has a public comment they'd like to make that is not related to something on the agenda this evening. Now is the opportunity to do so. If you are on Zoom and would like to make a public comment about something not on the agenda, you can use the raised hand function. You can also type something in the chat, and we will get you unmuted or read your comment if preferred.
Again, if anyone on the online Zoom meeting has any public comment for items not on the agenda, now would be the time. It looks like from the participant list, it's all folks that have agenda items.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have appeal noise citation number 40153 for 724 South Lincoln Street.
We've got both Officer Groomer and it looks, I think the appellant's first name was Jorge, and we have Jorge on as well. So, but yep, go.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. Daniel Dixon, Assistant City Attorney with the Legal Department. This is an appeal from a noise citation issued on April 22nd, 2022 by Officer Luke Grover of the Bloomington Police Department. The appellant, I believe, is here as well tonight, as well as Officer Grover. I will, I guess, start and just say the city's position is that the citation was appropriately issued and that we will be asking for the board to deny the appeal tonight. I will go ahead and go first, and I'd like to begin by introducing Officer Luke Grover, if he is here and could unmute himself.
Yeah, I'm here. My name is Officer Luke Grover with the Bloomington Police Department, and I was one of the responding officers to the noise complaint on the day and time for this certain incident.
And if it's all right, I can just go ahead and ask him some questions. Officer Grover, you'd mentioned being on duty, and I'm assuming you're talking about the call to 724 South Lincoln Street. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
And can you go ahead and just walk the board through your recollection of events, beginning, I guess, when the dispatch call came in through and including when the citation was issued?
Of course, yes. So on April 21st, 2022 at 11:39 p.m., a noise complaint call came in, which is fairly normal for that day and time. at the address of 724 South Lincoln Street. Per department policy, we normally let those calls pend for at least 15 minutes to allow for validity of the call and of the complaint. So the call was, again, it was called in at 11:39 p.m. and officers, including myself, arrived at 12:04 on April 22nd, which was past the 15-minute waiting period that we normally have. Myself and other officers parked on East Dodge Street and South Lincoln, so right there on the corner, a couple houses south of 724 South Lincoln, and we're standing on the sidewalk and could hear what sounded like loud music coming north from East Dodge Street. So we went ahead and followed the noise along the sidewalk and located the noise coming from the house, 724 South Lincoln Street. We went up to the house and made contact with one of the individuals there and asked to speak to someone who was owned or renting the apartment there. And Jorge Ortega came and identified as having ownership of that location. I advised to him that we could hear the loud noise coming from a public place and was causing disturbance. And per policy, we will write noise violations. And I explained to him how that works, with the first ticket being a $50 fee, and it goes up from there. He stated he understood. And then I officially wrote the ticket and issued it to him at 12:10 on April 22nd, 2022. And then went ahead and left from the area.
Okay, thank you, Officer Grover. I don't have any other questions for him at this time, and I'll defer to the board, I think, if you all have questions to ask.
Were there other complaints in the neighborhood for loud noise at that time?
There were no other loud parties that we could hear coming from that area. That was the only house in the area. And as far as I'm aware, that was the only call that had come in.
You did have a witness to this also, didn't you? Someone in the area witnessed the loud
Correct.
noise?
Yeah, the complainant of the call lived within the area. And upon arrival, we were able to speak with them as well. And the complainant stated that he had been hearing this loud party going on for a couple of hours and had work in the morning, and so that's why he called it in.
Thank you. And the appeal was timely?
Yes, it was filed within 7 days, so yes.
Thank you.
The board, we do have Mr. Ortega on the Zoom link as well, so.
I just want to ask Officer Grover, that was Little 500 weekend, and I assume that any noise violations received are given a fine, even if it's the first noise violation?
That is correct. We were advised by the higher-ups at Bloomington Police Department that anytime we received a noise violation call, we were ordered to go ahead and write a citation.
Okay, thank you.
And so, Officer Grover, that means that you didn't issue any noise warnings that evening. If you were issuing a ticket, if you were issuing a citation, it was the citation, not a warning on the evening of the 21st or 22nd?
That is correct, yes.
If there are no other questions from the board, I would like to give our appellant, Mr. Ortega, an opportunity as well to present his arguments and be available to answer questions.
Mr. Ortega, this is Adam Waste, and I'll be asking you to go ahead and unmute. If you would like to make a statement to the board, now would be the time. There we go. It looks like he's unmuted.
Yes.
And you can go ahead, Mr. Ortega.
Can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, the reason for my appeal for this citation was because I wasn't, so at first I wasn't aware of the, that somebody had called the violation in. At first it was my understanding that the officers were driving past and could hear music from their vehicles, which is what they made it seem like. But other than that, I was appealing because it wasn't my, like, I stay here, but it wasn't my party, I guess, to say the least. I was next door with the neighbors, and I barely knew about what my roommates were planning for that evening. And I mean, they kind of told me about it the day of, but they didn't say it was going to be like something crazy like the way it was. There was a lot of stuff going on due to the fact that it was Little Five weekend. But yeah, other than that, I wanted to also mention that I had other friends that that said they had events going on the same night, and that although officers were called to their residence for whatever it was, the situation was, whether it was like people outside or noise or whatever, I had 3 other friends that said they had events the same night, and they were issued any citations of any sort, and I just didn't know why I was the one that did.
Mr. Ortega, have you asked your roommates to pay for the citation?
I mentioned it to them, but I mentioned to them that I appealed it before asking them for payment.
Yeah, in this situation, a person who is like either the owner of the property or the person who is leasing the property is eligible for the citation. And so I think that that's the circumstance that you're in, is that you were the responsible party for that property at that time. But I think it would be a good idea for you to talk through that with your roommates.
All right, but like coming back to the thing, the officer said that you guys were giving tickets no matter the situation. So what was the reasoning behind letting other people, fly by with it and not me?
I'll jump in here. This is Adam Mason, Public Works Director. I don't know that we have any proof that that's actually true. I know you're stating that you talked to some folks, but we've heard from Officer Grover that, it is BPD's policy during Little Five weekend that it's not warnings, they are all citations. That's been the past practice for many, many years, as long as I've been Public Works Director, and we've had noise appeals for Little 500. So, at that point, I would just have to say that's just basic hearsay, and there's really no proof that that actually occurred. And as Officer Grover spoke, they did not issue any warnings that evening. They were only citations.
Any other questions on this item?
No, if there's nothing else, I just have a brief comment too, just to kind of summarize. As we've heard tonight, there was Officer Grover responded to this call around, came in at 11:40. They let it pend until about 12:04 a.m. on April 22nd when he appeared. Officers, as they approached the house, could hear noise emanating from the premises while they were off the premises. Bloomington Municipal Code 14.09.030C4 says that sound that is clearly audible to any person with normal hearing from any place other than the premises from which the source of the sound is located, when it occurs between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m., is a prima facie evidence of violation of this section. So there is evidence that this noise occurred at that time and that the city is meeting its burden to show that the citation is valid. It was issued to a tenant of the property who is a responsible party. And so for those reasons, the ticket and the citation and the fine are valid. It's a first fine, which is $50. And so would ask that the board deny the appeal and would certainly encourage our appellant, if he is truly not the one responsible for this party, to work it out with his roommates to make sure that they're the ones that are going to be paying this and not him. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion on this item?
I move that we deny the appeal to noise citation number 40153 for 725 South Lincoln Street. 724 South Lincoln.
South Lincoln. Yes, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other public comment on this item this time?
Is there any public comment from anyone else on the Zoom meeting? If so, you can use the chat function or ask to be unmuted. And right now, the motion is to deny the appeal. I don't see anything.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you.
So the appeal was denied. Alrighty.
Yes.
Next up is Title VI enforcement. First is abatement at 708 South Adams Street.
Hi, I'm Maria McCormick from Hand. We're requesting a continuous abatement at 708 South Adams Street for the grass and a one-time abatement for some trash and debris that is in the yard.
Check your mic, would you, please?
Might just be a little low.
Okay, sorry, just talk louder.
Thank you.
Are there questions on this item?
No.
And it was noted in our work session yesterday that this is a property that has had issues in past seasons.
Yes, and the owner of the property is in a nursing home.
Okay.
It's a vacant
So the house
residence.
is vacant, yes.
And you'd like a continuous abatement?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any public comments on this item? And if you have any comments on Zoom, you can use raised hand function or the chat function if there's anything you'd like to make comment.
I think all the remaining folks on Zoom are for other items on the agenda.
All right. Seeing no comment, do we have a motion on this item?
I move that we abate the property at 708 South Adams Street. This would be for a continuous abatement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up is the abatement at 740 South Westwood Drive.
So this is also a request for a one-time abatement of some trash and debris in the yard, and then a continuous abatement of the grass. We had a continuous abatement for the lawn last year as well. This is a property we believe is vacant. We aren't quite sure where Mr. Miller is, and if he's still in the house or not, but it's significantly overgrown. So we would like to be able to mow the grass every time it gets to 8 inches.
So you've had no contact with the owner or his son?
No, the owner has passed away. John Miller
I see.
Sr.
All right.
passed away. So it's
Okay.
John Miller Jr. that resides and owns the house now. And we have not had contact with him since 2020, maybe? I don't think we heard from him last
Oh.
year.
Okay.
And you said there was a continuous abatement for that property for grass last year as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any public comments on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion on this item?
I move that we abate the property at 740 South Westwood Drive. That will be a continuous abatement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up is the consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, we have the approval of minutes for May 10th of 2022. Ivy Chase Subdivision Phase 1 Final Plat Update. Revised Resolution 2021-65, encroachment at 102 West 6th Street. Resolution 2022-27, renew mobile vendor in public right-of-way, Blooming Bowls. Resolution 2022-29, renew mobile push cart in public right-of-way for Chocolate Mousse. Resolution 2022-32, new mobile solicitor's license for Luis Nunez. Resolution 2022-28, declaration of surplus property from Fleet. Partnership with Bloomington Parkour for Winslow High Rogers Roundabout. noise permit for Middleway House's 50 Years of Caring Picnic, addendum number 1 to 2022 service agreement with Cassidy Electrical, and approval of payroll. Do we have any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none. Are there any comments, public comments on the consent agenda?
Again, if you're on the Zoom meeting and want to offer any public comment for the consent agenda, you can do so via chat or the raise hand function. Again, I think these are just folks for other agenda items.
Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up is new business. First is amendment number 3 to LPA consulting contract with Lockmiller Group for the 17th Street Monroe to Grant Multimodal Improvements Project.
This is our project on 17th Street. It's divided into 2 phases. Construction is already underway on the east phase. The west phase is supported by federal funds. Lockmuller Group is currently under contract to do the design for this project and the right-of-way acquisition. This addendum adds services to redesign some parts of the project to resolve issues that arose during right-of-way acquisition, and also services to split the project into 2 separate construction bids. The addendum also reduces the subsurface utility engineering fee and the right-of-way engineering fee based on the actual use for those services. The total fee reduces slightly from $839,745 to $837,997. There was a question during the work session about a date on the contract
Yes.
purchase justification form. Checked with council, so that's a standard form that staff actually fills out.
All right.
It's not something from the consultant. That was put together by our controller's office. And that
Okay.
form goes to the controller for approval, and then they send it back. So
All right.
it's dated in that the controller approves it on a certain date, and we have that record, but there's not a date on
Okay,
the
there's
form
not a
itself.
specific, okay.
And that's kind of what I
Thanks
learned
for
about that.
checking. Thank you.
And staff does recommend approval here, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So this original contract goes back to August of 19?
Sounds
That
right.
was the original contract, and so this is the amendment to that.
Correct.
Okay.
This is the third amendment.
Yes, third amendment, yeah, okay.
Any other questions on this item? Any public comment on this item?
If there's any public comment for the 17th Street contract with Lockmuller Group, now would be the time. I don't see any.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve amendment number 3 to LPA consulting contract with Lockmuller Group for the 17th Street Monroe to Grant Multimodal Improvements Project.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
Thanks. Next is lane closure request from Reed & Sons Construction along East 19th Street from Walnut to Lincoln for construction of a new sidewalk, and this is June 1st, 2022 through August 20th of 2022.
Good evening, Paul Kerberg in Engineering. Reed & Sons Construction will be constructing a new sidewalk along the east side of North Walnut Street, north of 19th, and then along the north side of East 19th Street. This sidewalk was a condition of the approval of the development project at 1800 North Walnut Street. This will fill in some missing sidewalk connections. In order to construct the sidewalk, they'll need lane restrictions along East 19th Street from about Walnut Street to Lincoln Street. They have the project scheduled from June 1st to August 20th, 2022. Are there any questions?
Any questions on this item?
I assume as this gets into August and students coming back, they'll try to get things wrapped up as quickly as they can.
Yeah, that's the intent, is to finish before IU starts.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
Any public comment on this item?
I don't see any.
Seeing none, is there a motion on this
I
item?
move that we approve the lane closure request from Reed and Sons Construction along East 19th Street from Walnut to Lincoln for construction of a new sidewalk June 1st, 2022 through August 20th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up is lane closure request from Goodman Construction along North Walnut Street, and that is dates to be determined.
Yeah, Paul Kerber with engineering. Goodman Construction they'll be replacing a water main along, it'd be the easternmost northbound lane of North Walnut Street. This is north of 19th Street, adjacent to 1800 North Walnut, the redevelopment project in that area. To complete the construction, they'll have approximately a 6-foot wide trench, 6 feet deep, and they'll need the lane restriction 24 hours a day while they complete the work. The work is planned for June 20th to July 1st, 2022. So they'll complete it this summer. Are there any questions?
So this is 165 feet long and 6 feet deep? Are you
Yes.
getting into any karst terrain and
No
limestone?
karst. There might be bedrock. I know in that area
haven't-
they've hit it already with that project, so.
Cored down to see what you're running into?
They haven't, but they've done other digging
In that-
really close to this area.
Okay. It's a long, long rerouting process.
Mhm.
So when we consider this for approval, we can consider this specifically for June 20th through July 1st. That's their request, and then if
Yes.
they need to make changes, we can,
Yeah, that's what they requested, so.
okay.
And we'll certainly keep the board up to speed on any changes there.
And this has all been well communicated to transit and all of the services?
Yes, yeah, and I wanted to mention, there is an existing sidewalk closure on the east side of Walnut right now. That was approved a couple of years ago now.
Okay.
And I traveled through this area yesterday. There's a lot, going on, like in that corridor, which I'm sure you're well aware of, all the coordination happening in that area. I am assuming that the activity that's currently happening, so you mentioned the sidewalk closure, which is already a factor, but then the other developments that are further south from this area, those are still going to be active during this time too, to where really what I'm thinking is that lane of traffic is sort of restricted for a couple blocks, not necessarily consecutively, but a couple blocks in that corridor. And that will just be the way that is set up for this
and-
period of time.
Yeah, I was just gonna, we've been very closely coordinating all the different projects in the area, making sure it all works together, and, yeah.
Summer of construction
Yes.
fun. Yeah, no, I'll give a lot of credit to the engineering team and these contractors. And we've got various private developments, we've got public projects, we've got, and we're closely coordinating day in, day out. Today, the western lane of northbound Walnut was closed from basically north of 10th through 15th. And then the eastern lane shifted. So they're shifting. The signage was good. The MOTs were good. So that's why we have great staff like Paul and the engineering team out there looking and making sure things are on the up and up when it comes to all these projects interacting and working together.
Great, very good. Yeah, I would say just for people traveling on that section of North Walnut, just be prepared to shift those lanes, and the fact that there's, essentially going to be one lane going through that area in a somewhat alternating fashion. You just have to be aware and taking the road at the proper speed
And
to be
pay
able to
attention. Pay
accommodate
attention to what's going on.
accommodate that,
Right.
yes.
On our agenda, it says the dates are to be determined, but I guess you have determined
Yeah,
June
yeah,
the
I
20th
heard
through
from the
July
contractors.
1st now.
Yeah, so we can go ahead and.
Yes, okay,
and
thank you.
Put that in.
that could be added to the motion.
Any other questions on this item? Any public comment on this item?
If you have public comment on this item from the Zoom meeting, you can either do the raised hand function or chat.
And all the construction work is happening during the day, like the excavating?
Yes,
During
it
the day.
will only be during the day.
No public comment.
All right, seeing none, is there a motion on this item?
I move that we approve lane closure request from Goodman Construction along North Walnut Street, June 20th through July 1st, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next, we have lane closure request from Snedeger Construction for work in the Crestmont community.
All right, Paul Kerberg in Engineering. There's currently a large renovation in the Crestmont community right now, and Snedeger Construction will be installing new sewer laterals, water mains, water service, and also completing work for Duke Energy. As part of this work, they'll need various lane restrictions, also some sidewalk closures in the area. I actually just spoke to Trent Stogdistill this afternoon, and he confirmed that residents will have full access during the project. And they plan to do the work for starting now, and it will probably last about a year. And I know yesterday we spoke that we'll update the board as needed and fill you in on the progress they're making. They have about 15 street crossings that they'll need to make. That's on Lindbergh, Illinois Court, and 14th Street. We'll work closely with them, and we have worked closely with them with their MOT plan. And are there any questions from the board?
We talked about safety yesterday because of all the children out of school and a lot of children in that area, that it's safe for their crossing. And I know these are going to be kind of a rolling crossing changes, but we just want the safety factor to be considered.
Yeah, and we'll be checking their maintenance of traffic plans as the
Yes.
project goes along.
Thank
And
you.
this is one that if we're approving it for a year, I would definitely, I know you and Adam have both said you would, but I would appreciate ongoing updates about how it's going. Yep, thanks.
And in the work session yesterday, we talked about the fact that this will be plated, like the closures are happening throughout the day, and then in the evenings, it would be something that would be plated for safety. People could get through that area.
Yes, yeah.
And this is going to start tomorrow?
I spoke with Trent, and it's as soon as I can get the permit out to them, so, yep. I know the weather doesn't look favorable the rest of the week,
No,
so.
I know. Storms tomorrow, yeah.
Are there any public comments on this item?
No, I don't see any.
All right. Is there a motion on this item?
I move that we approve lane closure request from Snedeger Construction for work in the Crestmont community.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next up is a lane restriction and sidewalk closure request from Duke Energy along North Morton Street for Phase 2 of the Showers LED lighting conversion project, and that's May 23rd, 2022 through June 24th of 2022.
It'll be me for here on out. So Adam Wason, Public Works Director. This is a request from Duke Energy in cooperation with their subcontractor, 5 Star Electric LLC. And this will be for sidewalk closures and lane restrictions on North Morton Street from West 10th to West 7th Street. Like you said, from May 23rd through June 24th. This is all to facilitate the replacement of the street lighting around the Showers complex here. So we're upgrading from the original 1990s street lights that were installed to, which have reached end of life, and are updating those with, as part of our LED conversion project. Proper maintenance of traffic plans have been submitted. We've been working with the engineering department on the right-of-way use permit application. And so this will have rolling lane restrictions and sidewalk closures as the project moves from 10th Street down to 7th. After that, we'll then move into more of the Showers parking lot here and out of the public rights-of-way there. So requesting approval for this, and given that it's a city-run project in coordination with Duke Energy, we will be on top of making sure the MOTs and things are in place and proper.
So since the original request was dated yesterday, did
We
any
did,
work
yes.
start to happen?
They did not do, they did a sidewalk closure today at a staff level, with a staff level approval, but they did not do any lane closures.
Okay.
So, but yes, the lane closures could start as early as tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
Again, weather
Maybe.
doesn't look too conducive for much of anything for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Any public comment on this item?
Unless Mr. Askins has anything to say, it's just us.
Seeing none, is there a motion on this item?
I move that we approve lane restriction and sidewalk closure request from Duke Energy along North Morton Street for Phase 2 of the Showers LED lighting conversion project, May the 24th through June the 24th, 2022.
I think it's May 23rd.
23rd, yeah.
Yep. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up is award contract to Browning Chapman LLC for the Walnut Street Parking Garage Repair Project.
Again, Adam Wason on behalf of our parking garage manager, Ryan Daly. We held an open bidding for the Walnut Street Garage Structural Repair Project. These repairs include the exterior repairs on concrete, on the concrete deck and undersides, expansion joint replacement, and painting of the northwest stairwell. Browning Chapman was the lowest responsive bidder at $149,900. We reviewed all the bid documents, find this to be within the scope and price that we were expecting. So we're asking for the approval of this with Browning Chapman for $149,900.
Thank you. Questions on this item?
I'll just note in the packet, there was an extensive number of pictures and descriptions of the types of repairs and maintenance that will be done. And just to further note that this is all part, excuse me, all part of our process to make sure that we are performing all maintenance within best management practices for structures like these, and keep these garages operational for the full life expectancy that they had from the date they were built.
And this garage is more than 20 years old, right?
Yeah, it's been called a few different things over the years. I still refer to it as the Scotty's Garage, but yes, it was, I think, the late 90s when it was probably about 2000, actually, 2001.
I think that's probably right. I have lots of, I won't date myself, fond college memories of that parking garage. All right. And we did talk about in the work session that this we've gone through a series of different garage projects, from repair to replace on 4th Street to a lot of work on Morton, just to keep it up in its best shape, and that this is sort of bringing them all up to where they need to be for just regular maintenance.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I checked yesterday to be sure that it was safe to continue using the garage. And it
Yeah,
sure-
absolutely.
it
These
sure
are
is
general
otherwise,
maintenance
yes.
type things. We have no concerns about structural
Right.
safety or integrity, and there will be some rolling restrictions on where folks can park as the repairs take place throughout the summer.
Sure.
But, we plan these things for the summer for a reason, when we have a little less traffic and such.
All right. Any public comment on this item?
Jackie? Nope.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we award the contract to Browning Chapman LLC for the Walnut Street Parking Garage Repair Project, $149,900.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next is award contract to Groomer Construction for sidewalk repair replacement services.
Once again, Adam Wason. So this is, we put out to bid sidewalk construction services for repair and replacement. Groomer Construction Inc.'s bid was the only bid received yesterday, but was determined to be responsible and responsive. We've been working with Groomer Construction on sidewalk repairs for many years now and have a good working relationship with those folks. And so this was at $67.70 per foot for 6-foot beveled curb, 6-inch beveled curb. It was $78.60 per foot of 5-foot 6-inch monolithic sidewalk, $70 per foot of standard 5-foot sidewalk, and $85.50 per ADA compliant curb ramp. And we request the board's approval of this contract.
Questions on this item? Did this come in at about what you were anticipating?
Yeah,
As far as-
actually, we were pleasantly surprised it wasn't higher.
Okay. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we award the contract to Groomer Construction for sidewalk repair and/or replacement services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have a contract with Ancris LLC for bathroom remodel at Sanitation Garage.
So this is a contract for remodeling the men's bathroom at the sanitation garage. I'll just note that currently there's only one toilet in the men's room there, so we're looking to add an additional toilet, relocate the bathroom doors, urinals, and do some flooring work and some painting. Received 3 quotes on this one from HFI, one from Heflin Industries, and one from Ancris LLC. The lowest responsive bidder was Ancris at the price of $23,471.60, and we request your approval of this contract.
Thanks.
I'll just note I need to recuse myself from this vote because Ann Chris LLC is doing some work for me.
Thank you. Questions on this item? Any public comment on this item?
Nope.
Seeing none. Is there a motion on this item?
I move that we award the contract with Ancris LLC for bathroom remodel at Sanitation Garage.
And I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And note that we have the recusal as well.
Absolutely.
Next up is contract with Groomer Construction for installation of bollards in City Hall parking lot.
All right. Again, Adam Moisen. This contract is for the installation of removable traffic bollards in the east and west entrances to the City Hall parking lot, and to restrict access during the farmers market and other events in the City Hall parking lot. So 3 quotes were received on this: Milestone, E&B Paving, and Groomer Construction. Groomer Construction came in with a low bid of $35,040.00. Staff recommends that we award the contract to Groomer Construction for the installation of the bollards.
Questions on this item?
And are there 10 bollards, and they're all above ground bollards?
Yeah, so the sleeves will be be installed into the pavement, and then we'll have storage areas for the bollards themselves. And each weekend when they need them, they'll slip the bollards into the sleeves, and then at the end of the market, after everything's wrapped up, they'll take those and put them back into storage.
So we just awarded the sidewalk repair contract to Groomer Construction. You've said they've been really responsive and good to work with, so I assume you have absolutely no issues with them adding this on.
No, no, we've worked with Groomer Construction for many years on different types of projects, and they seem to have plenty of capacity wherewithal to do all projects. I was going to make a note in the staff reports, but concrete has been something that we've been having some struggles getting on demand like we previously did. You know, we used to call those in the morning for concrete orders to job sites, and now we're having to do that weeks in advance to get those scheduled. So just supply issues and such. So knowing Mr. Groomer's company also does some sidewalk work for us, I'm sure they're going to be able to fit both in.
That's good.
And we talked during the work session about the fact that these bollards are very similar to the ones in use on Kirkwood, correct? They're maybe a little smaller.
They're
in
rated at a
diameter.
few miles an hour less, but yes, they're the exact same manufacturer, things like that.
And then they meet the Homeland Security requirements for closures
Yes.
of a street.
Complies, yeah. Okay.
Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion on this item?
I move that we approve the contract with Groomer Construction for installation of bollards in City Hall parking lot, $35,040.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next up is staff reports and other business.
Once again, Adam Wason, Public Works Director. Want to start with, I know Kyla, you mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, but just want to start with a sincere thank you to Beth Hollingsworth for her now more than 15 years of service on the Board of Public Works. Beth, your service to the community is does not go unnoticed by staff and others, and we just really appreciate your dedication. I can just make note that, you know, when if there was ever any concern that there wasn't going to be a document reviewed with a fine-tooth comb, claims that would have questions, I always knew that Beth would come to us with good questions and the community's best interest in mind. So just really appreciate all your years of service, Beth. I know if the situation was different, you'd continue to serve well into the future, but we just really, really appreciate all your years of service. So thank you so much. Beth started her Board of Public Works service in September, I believe, of 1998. Served through 2008. Took a brief hiatus until 2017. Came back from 2017 through this meeting today. So just thank you, Beth, for all your service. The community is better off for all of your years of service. So thank you, thank you, thank
I'll
you.
miss you all. Thank you.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it.
Couple other things to note. I know Beth also mentioned in her public comments at the beginning of the meeting, just general construction. We are full construction mode right now. So East 3rd Street, the NDOT jurisdiction out there on East 3rd Street, there's major curb ramp work taking place that's causing quite a bit of traffic. If you can avoid the 3rd and College Mall Road intersection for the next several weeks, it's highly recommended to use alternative routes in that area. As we mentioned, the North Walnut corridor has a lot going on. This is going to be how our summers are and how they've been for many, many decades in the past, but just being aware of those projects and trying to avoid those areas. And then I also wanted to make note of a public hearing for the proposed improvements at State Road 4546 and Stone Lake Drive to the north and Monroe Street to Stone Lake Drive to the north and Monroe Street to the south. So this is the intersection that is just west of the pedestrian bridge over the bypass there. For many, many years now, there's been interest in making intersection improvements there. I think probably about 2 years ago, they installed delineators to restrict left-hand turn movements in that area. So there is a public meeting that will be held at the North Central Church of Christ located at 2121 North Dunn Street on June 7th, 2022, and the hearing will be held at 6 p.m. It's a public hearing for any interested persons to have an opportunity to comment on the preliminary design plans for the State Road 4546 access improvements at West Stone Lake Drive and North Monroe Street. This is DES number 1700198, if anyone would like to look those documents up on the internet beforehand, but wanted to make the public aware of that.
Adam, isn't there a small quarry back in that Stone Lake area?
There is I don't believe it's an active quarry, but I believe there is an old quarry in that oh shoot, I can't think of the name of that one, but yes, there is a quarry up in that, an old abandoned, I don't know if it's abandoned, but not active.
Not active quarry.
Limestone quarry. So again, that meeting's on June 7th at 6 PM at the North Central Church of Christ, 2121 North Dunn Street.
And is NDOT facilitating that meeting or the city? Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, this is an INDOT, Indiana Department of Transportation facilitated project, not a City of Bloomington project. This is for the State Road 45, 46 bypass. And then I just wanted to make note and mention that upcoming on Saturday, June 4th, we've got the Grand Falloon Festival downtown, so that'll be on Kirkwood Avenue. Come out, have a good time. Let's see what we can do on Kirkwood, and should be a good time had by all. So, but yep, that's it. Just want to say thanks once again, Beth, for all your years of service. We're gonna miss you.
Next up is approval of claims. Are there any questions on claims?
No.
Any public comment on claims? Seeing none. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve claims $1,212,838.42.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And if there is nothing else, I will call for adjournment.
Thank you all for everything. I've really enjoyed my time with you.
Thank you, Beth.
All righty.